The silver halls of the Lumari Grand Council echoed with sounds of panic. Ambassador Trell stood at the center of the circular chamber, his blue-tinged skin glistening under the soft lights. Around him, 20 council members whispered in fear. The holographic display above showed their home system under attack. "The Void Armada has destroyed our outer colonies," Trell said, his four-fingered hand pointing at the display. 4 billion dead in just 6 days. Elder Mina rose from her seat, her old voice wavering. "We are not warriors, Ambassador. We never have. Been our species evolved in peace." She was right. The Lumari home planet Luma orbited a gentle star. Their world had low gravity, a perfect climate, and almost no natural dangers. Evolution had shaped them into tall, slender beings with delicate bodies. And brilliant minds, they built a civilization based on art, science, and harmony. Violence was almost unknown among their kind. "We cannot fight the Void Armada." Another council member said, "Their ships outnumber ours 10 to 1. Their weapons are made for war. Ours are made for mining and exploration." Trell closed his large eyes for a moment. "Then we must call for help." "From whom?" Elder Mina asked. "We have contacted all neighboring systems. None have the power to stand against the Void." Trell walked to the control panel and pressed his palm against it. A new star map appeared, showing a section of space far from Lumari territory. "There is a system here beyond the Scarlet Nebula. We have never contacted them because their world is classified as a death world." A gasp spread through the chamber. Death worlds were planets with extreme conditions, high gravity, harsh weather, dangerous animals, and violent geological activity. The few species that evolved on such worlds were known to be tough and aggressive. "You cannot suggest we contact them," Elder Mina said. "Deathworlders are unpredictable, dangerous." "More dangerous than the Void Armada?" Trell asked quietly. "We face extinction, Elder. We must try everything." After hours of debate, the council made their decision. A distress signal would be sent toward the Deathworld system. The message was simple: peaceful civilization faces extinction. Request immediate assistance. We offer knowledge and friendship in return. The signal beamed out into the darkness of space, traveling faster than light through channels the Lumari had discovered centuries. Ego Trell watched it go, wondering if they had just called for saviors or something far worse. Captain Alex Reed stood on the bridge of the Earth Defense Fleet flagship Thunderbolt, looking at the strange message displayed on the main screen. Behind him, Admiral Patel and the ship's AI specialist, Dr. Tom Hayes, were deep in conversation. "It's definitely not human," Dr. Hayes said, pushing his glasses up. "The signal format is like nothing in our database, but we've managed to translate the content. It appears to be a distress call." Admiral Patel frowned. "Or a trap. We've never had contact with alien life. This could be a way to lure our ships out." Reed studied the message again. 6 months ago, Earth had finally achieved faster-than-light travel. The Thunderbolt was humanity's most advanced ship, built to explore beyond their solar system. They had expected to spend years searching for intelligent life. Instead, life had reached out to them first. The signal origin is about 20 light-years. "Way," Reed said. "That's within our range. You're not seriously suggesting we respond?" Admiral Patel asked. Reed turned to face him. "Humanity has wondered for centuries if we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not. And the first message we receive is a cry for help. What does it say about us? If we ignore it, it says we're cautious." The Admiral replied, "You know, Earth's history, first contacts rarely end well for the less advanced side." Dr. Hayes cleared his throat. "Actually, the message suggests a fairly advanced civilization. The transmission method alone indicates technology beyond our current understanding." Reed nodded. "Which means we could learn from them." "Admiral, this is why. We built the Thunderbolt to explore, to make contact, to learn." The Admiral paced the bridge, hands clasped behind his back. The other crew members pretended to focus on their stations, but Reed knew everyone was listening. "I'll need to consult with." Earth Command Admiral Patel finally said, "This decision goes beyond my authority." The days later, Earth Command gave their answer. The Thunderbolt would investigate the distress signal. They would bring weapons just in case, but their mission was peaceful contact and assistance if possible. Captain Reed addressed his crew of 200 before departure. We are about to make history. The first humans to make contact with an alien civilization. We don't know what we'll find, friends, enemies, or something. We can't even imagine. But we go with open minds and open hands, ready to help. If we can. The crew cheered. They were the best Earth had to offer. Scientists, engineers, medical experts, and yes, soldiers. Earth wasn't a peaceful planet. Its history was filled with war, and its environment had shaped humans into tough, adaptable beings. They could survive in deserts, Arctic conditions, high mountains, and deep seas. They had endured plagues, natural disasters, and their own destructive tendencies. What the humans didn't know was that most galactic civilizations classified Earth as a Class 5 death world, one of the most dangerous inhabited planets known. Its high gravity, extreme weather, deadly microorganisms, and predatory wildlife had forged a species that could survive conditions that would kill most other intelligent beings. In the galaxy, the Thunderbolt prepared for its jump into the unknown. Engineers ran final checks on the FTL drive, while weapons specialists loaded missile bays and calibrated defense systems. FTL drive charged and ready. Captain, the ship's navigator, reported. Reed settled into his command chair and looked at the star map showing their destination. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to answer a call for help from the stars. Let's show the universe what humanity is made of. He nodded to the navigator. Execute jump. The massive engines of the Thunderbolt hummed to life. Space folded around the ship, and Earth's most advanced vessel disappeared in a flash of light, carrying humanity's first ambassadors toward a meeting that would change the course of galactic history forever. What none of them realized was that the peaceful Lumari were about to summon the most efficient warriors the galaxy had ever seen. Humans from Earth, the Deathworlders who had evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day, and who had not only survived but thrived. The Thunderbolt emerged from its FTL jump with a flash of light. On the bridge, warning alarms blared as sensors detected debris floating everywhere. Full stop, Captain Reed ordered. Damage report. No damage, Captain, the ship's engineer replied. The alarms are detecting objects in our path. Reed stared at the main screen. It showed a sight none of them had expected. The remains of a battle. Destroyed ships drifted in the blackness of space, some still burning with strange blue-green flames that somehow burned without oxygen. Are we too late? Reed whispered. Lieutenant Kelly, the communications officer, called out. Captain, I'm picking up transmissions, multiple frequencies, some kind of battle communications. Put it on screen. Let's see what we're dealing with. The view changed to show a planet with 3 moons. Around it, small ships darted between larger vessels. Energy beams cut through space and explosions bloomed like deadly flowers. The battle is still ongoing. Commander Wu said, the tactical officer studying the readings. Based on ship designs and movement patterns, we have 2 distinct groups. The larger force appears to be attacking the smaller one. The smaller force must be the ones who sent the distress call. Reed said, can we communicate with them? Lieutenant Kelly worked at her station, sending our first contact message on all frequencies, translating into the format they used in their distress call. Minutes past the crew watched as the battle continued in the distance. The defending ships were losing ground, their formation breaking apart as the attackers pressed forward. Captain, Kelly said suddenly, we're receiving a response. The screen changed to show a face that was clearly not human. The alien had blue-tinted skin, large oval eyes with no visible pupils, and a slender neck that seemed too fragile to support its head. When it spoke, its mouth barely moved, and the ship's computer-translated unknown vessel. This is Ambassador Trell of the Lumari Confederation. Your arrival is unexpected. Are you from the Death World? Reed stepped forward. I am Captain Alex Reed of the Earth Defense Fleet ship, Thunderbolt. We received your distress call and came to offer assistance, and yes, we are from Earth. The alien's large eyes widened. You came. You actually came. There was wonder in its voice. We need to meet immediately. I am sending coordinates for talking with our diplomatic vessel. Please hurry. The Void Armada grows closer to our homeworld every hour. The transmission ended. Reed turned to his crew. Prepare a first contact team. Full environmental suits until we confirm the atmosphere is safe. And I want a security detail armed, but weapons concealed. We're here to help, but we're not going in blind. The Lumari diplomatic vessel was a work of art, curved lines of silver and crystal, forming a ship that looked more like a sculpture than a space vessel. The Thunderbolt docked with it, magnetic clamps engaging with a solid thunk. Reed led the team of 10 through. The airlock, Dr. Anna Green. The chief science officer scanned the air atmosphere is breathable. Captain, lower oxygen than Earth. No detectable pathogens. We can remove our helmets. As they did, a door at the end of the docking tube slid open. 3 Lumari stood waiting. In person, they were even more striking, at least 7 FT tall, but impossibly thin, with 4-fingered hands and skin that seemed to shimmer with a faint blue glow. Ambassador Trell stepped forward. "Welcome, humans of Earth. We are." He stopped, suddenly staring at the humans with what looked like shock. "Is something wrong, Ambassador?" Reed asked. Trell seemed to collect himself. "No, forgive me. It's just that you are not what we expected," Dr. Green whispered to Reed. "I think we scare them." Reed realized she was right. The Lumari were staring at the humans with the same caution humans might show toward a large predator. He smiled, trying to look friendly, and took a slow step forward. With his hand extended, "We come in peace. Ambassador, we're here to help." Trell hesitated, then extended his slender hand. When they touched, Reed was careful to be gentle. The Lumari's bones felt as fragile as a bird's. "Please follow us to the council chamber." Trell said, "We have much to discuss." The council chamber was a large room with a round table. The walls were transparent, showing the battle that continued to rage at a distance. Reed noticed that the Lumari moved with a grace that seemed almost like floating, a result he guessed of evolving on a low-gravity world. As they sat, Reed became aware of how the chairs creaked under the humans' weight. The Lumari looked uncomfortable, clearly not used to beings as dense and heavy as humans. "Let me explain our situation," Trell said. "The Void Armada appeared in our system 3 weeks ago. They are resource hunters who strip planets bare. We tried to negotiate, but they see us as weak. Already they have destroyed 4 of our colony worlds. How large is their force, Commander?" Wu asked. "Over 200 warships," one of the other Lumari said. "Our defense fleet had only 50, and half are now destroyed." Wu exchanged looks with Reed. By Earth standards, this was a small conflict. The Earth defense fleet had thousands of ships. "What are your weapons capabilities?" Wu continued. "Our ships carry mining lasers converted for defense. They were never meant for war." Trell's voice was sad. "The Lumari have been at peace for 5.0 years. We have no warriors among us." Reed leaned forward. "Ambassador, I need to be clear about something. We came to help, but we are just one ship. We have advanced weapons, but against 200 enemy vessels, there are limits to what we can do." Ship Trell seemed confused. "But your message said Earth Defense Fleet. We assumed the Thunderbolt is part of Earth's fleet." "Yes," Reed explained. "But we can't bring our entire military force on a first contact mission. We would need to return to Earth and request reinforcements." The hope in Tell's eyes dimmed. "We may not have that much time. The Void Armada will reach our homeworld in days." Suddenly, alarms blared. One of the Lumari rushed to a control panel. "Ambassador, Void Armada ships are changing. Course they've detected the human vessel and are moving to intercept." Reed stood up. "How many ships?" 5 of their destroyer class. Reed tapped his communicator. "Thunderbolt, this is Captain Reed, battle stations. We have hostile forces incoming." The Lumari stared at him. Captain Trell said with disbelief. "You cannot mean to fight. 5 Void destroyers would overwhelm 3 of our largest warships." Reed smiled grimly. "Ambassador, you called for help from a death world. Now you get to see what that means. My people evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day. We've been fighting each other, our environment, diseases, predators for our entire history." He gestured to the view of the approaching enemy ships. Those 5 vessels are about to learn why no one should threaten a species that evolved as the apex predator on a world of apex predators. But your ship is alone, Trell said, still not understanding. We're human. Reed replied simply. Alone is when we're at our most dangerous. As the human team hurried back to their ship, Trell watched them go. These strange, stocky creatures moved with purpose and confidence. Where the Lumari saw a certain defeat, the humans saw a challenge. For the first time since the invasion began, Trell felt something new. Hope Ambassador Trell and the Lumari Council watched from their diplomatic vessel as the 5 Void Armada destroyers approached the lone human ship. The council members had gathered in the observation room, their slender bodies tense with worry. The humans will die, Eldermina said sadly. We should not have called them here just to watch them be destroyed. Trell wasn't so sure. There was something about these humans that the Lumari didn't understand. Something dangerous. On the main screen, they could see the Thunderbolt. It was smaller than the Void destroyers, but its design was unlike anything the Lumari had seen before, where Lumari ships were elegant and Void ships were bulky. The human vessel looked predatory, like it was built not just to travel through space but to hunt. The Void ships are within firing range. A Lumari technician announced, They are charging weapons. On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, Captain Reed stood calmly as his crew prepared for battle. All hands to battle stations. He ordered, shields at maximum weapons hot. Lieutenant Maria Torres, the tactical officer, spoke up. Captain, I've analyzed their attack patterns from the sensor data. These ships rely on overwhelming force rather than strategy. They expect enemies to run or surrender. Reed nodded. Then let's show them something new. Helm, prepare for attack pattern Delta engineering. I need everything you can give to the engines and forward shields. The crew worked with practiced efficiency, unlike the Lumari. Humans had never known 5 years of peace. Even in times without war, they trained for it. It was in their blood, their history. Enemy ships firing, Commander Wu reported. The first volley from the Void destroyers lit up space. Energy beams and missiles streaked toward the Thunderbolt. Evasive maneuvers, Reed ordered calmly. Return fire targeting engines and weapons only. Let's disable rather than destroy if possible. The Thunderbolt moved with startling speed for its size, dodging most of the incoming fire. What hits it did take were absorbed by its shields. On the Lumari vessel, the council watched in amazement. Impossible, Eldermina whispered. No ship can move like that under such gravity stress. The crew would be crushed. Trell remembered the solid feel of the human captains. These creatures were dense, heavy. Their world had shaped them to withstand forces that would kill a Lumari instantly. They're not just surviving. He realized aloud, they're thriving in conditions we can't even tolerate. The Thunderbolt's return fire was precise and devastating, human weapons designed to function in Earth's atmospheric conditions and tested in the harshness of space cut. Through the first Void destroyer's shields like they weren't there. Direct hit, Torres reported. Enemy vessel 1 has lost engines and weapons. They're adrift. Reed nodded. Target the second ship. Same strategy. The Void Armada, facing an enemy that didn't flee or fall easily, changed tactics. The 4 remaining destroyers spread out trying to surround the Thunderbolt. They're adapting. Wu warned, so will we, Reed replied. Helm, bring us about Torres, target their lead ship's command center. The Thunderbolt twisted in space, pulling a maneuver that subjected the crew to forces that would have killed most other species inside. The ship the humans barely noticed. Their bodies evolved on a high-gravity world filled with dangers, could handle stresses that would liquefy Alamari's organs. The human ship fired its main cannon. A beam of concentrated energy, hotter than the surface of a star, struck the lead Void destroyer. The enemy ship's shields failed and the beam cut through its hull. Direct hit to their command center. Torres reported lead destroyer is going dark. 2 down, 3 to go. But the remaining Void ships were now firing continuously, pouring everything they had at the human vessel. Shields at 60%. Wu called out, "We can't take this barrage forever." Reed studied the tactical display. "We need to end this quickly. Torres, prepare all missile tubes. Target the 3 remaining ships simultaneously. All missiles, sir. That's our entire complement. Do it, Lieutenant. It's time these bullies learned what happens when you push humans into a corner. From the Lumari ship. Trell watched as the thunderbolt suddenly seemed to erupt with fire. Dozens of small objects shot out from the human vessel, streaking toward the void destroyers. What are those? Elder Mina asked. Some kind of projectile weapons. Trell guessed the void ships tried to shoot down the incoming missiles, but there were too many explosions bloomed across space, as some missiles were destroyed but most found their targets. The results were beyond anything the Lumari had imagined. The void destroyers' ships that had destroyed entire Lumari defense fleets were torn apart by the human weapons. One exploded completely. Another broke in half, its power core going critical and creating a miniature sun that quickly died. The third drifted dead in space, its systems fried in less than 20 minutes. One human ship had defeated 5 Void Armada destroyers. When Captain Reed and his team returned to the Lumari diplomatic vessel, they were met with a very different reception. The council members still seemed afraid, but now their fear was tinged with awe. That was Elder Mina struggled for words. We have never seen combat like that. Reed shrugged. Standard tactics against a numerically superior force. Nothing special. Nothing special, Trell repeated in disbelief. Your ship moved in, ways that would kill our people. Your weapons. One shot disabled an entire destroyer. Lieutenant Torres stepped forward. Their technology isn't actually more advanced than yours in many ways. They just designed it for war. We detected many weaknesses. In their system's weaknesses? Another council member asked. Torres nodded. Their shields are optimized against your mining lasers, but our weapons operate on different principles. Their hulls are strong but brittle at key structural points, and their tactics. She shook her head. They rely on fear and overwhelming force. They've never faced an enemy who fought back effectively. The Lumari looked at each other. This was a perspective they had never considered, but they still have nearly 200 ships. Elder Mina pointed out. And you are just one vessel, Captain Reed smiled. For now, but I've sent a message back to Earth. I've requested reinforcements and I've explained what's happening here. Will your people come? Trell asked. Will they help us fight a war that isn't theirs? Reed's face grew serious. Ambassador, there's something you need to understand about humans. Throughout our history, we've fought each other over resources, land, ideas. But when we see a bully attacking someone who can't fight back, he shook his head. That unites us like nothing else. What does that mean? Trell asked. It means Reed said that when I told Earth that peaceful beings were being slaughtered by aggressors, I received an immediate response. The 7th Fleet is already preparing to jump to this system. How many ships is that? One of the council members asked. Reed's smile returned. 50 warships to start with, more to follow if needed. The Lumari stared in shock. 50 warships, each potentially as powerful as the Thunderbolt. Your people would do this for strangers? Trell asked in wonder. We would, Reed confirmed, because that's what humans do. We protect those who can't protect themselves. He looked out at the stars, the void. Armada thinks they're the predators in this galaxy. They're about to learn they're wrong. For the first time since the invasion began, Trell felt not just hope, but certainty. The Deathworlders had come, and they had brought with them something the Void Armada had never encountered before: Earth's fury. 3 days after the Thunderbolt's victory over the 5 Void Destroyers, the Lumari Grand Council gathered in their largest meeting hall. The space was filled not just with council members, but with scientists, engineers, and ordinary citizens. At the center of the room stood Captain Reed and his senior officers. The Void Armada has pulled back to regroup. Ambassador Trell announced to the crowd, they lost 5 destroyers to a single human vessel, and now they are afraid. For the first time, they don't know what to expect. Murmurs spread through the gathered Lumari elder. Mina stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the humans. Captain Reed has brought us an opportunity, she said. A chance not just to survive, but to forge an alliance with a species whose strengths complement our weaknesses. Reed nodded. My people are warriors by nature. Earth shaped us to be tough, adaptable, and when necessary, aggressive. But we respect those who choose peace. We admire what your civilization has built. The question before us, Trell continued, is whether to accept the humans' help and form a formal alliance. They offer protection. In return, they ask for cultural and technological exchange. A Lumari scientist raised his hand. What do you want from us? You clearly have superior weapons technology. Lieutenant Torres shook her head. Superior weapons. Yes, but your energy generation systems are more efficient than ours. Your medical technology is remarkable, and your understanding of faster-than-light physics is beyond what Earth has achieved. Dr. Green, the Thunderbolt science officer, added, we don't want to make you into warriors. We want to learn from your 0 years of peace while offering our protection. The debate lasted hours. Some Lumari feared that bringing humans into their civilization would change it forever. Others argued that extinction at the hands of the Void Armada was the only other option. In the end, the vote was unanimous. The Lumari would ally with the humans of Earth. 2 days later, space rippled and tore open as 50 Earth warships emerged from FTL jumps. The vessels varied in size and design, but all had the same predatory look as the Thunderbolt. The flagship EDF Indomitable was 3 times the size of the Thunderbolt and bristled with weapons. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Admiral Jack Foster watched as his fleet formed up in Lumari space. Captain Reed reports that the Lumari Council has agreed to our terms, his communications officer reported. They're sending over technical advisors to help us understand the local space and enemy tactics. Foster nodded. At 60 years old, he had seen humanity fight itself in a dozen conflicts. Now they would fight for someone else, inform all ships. This is not a peacekeeping mission. This is war. The Void Armada has slaughtered billions of innocent beings. They will not stop unless we make them on the Lumari homeworld. Commander Ben Wilson led a team of human soldiers and engineers. Unlike the diplomats on the Thunderbolt, these were Earth's warriors. They moved with dangerous grace. Their bodies built for Earth's heavy gravity, making them seem unnaturally strong. In the Lumari's lighter environment, Wilson met with Trell in a building that had once been a cultural center, but was now converted to a military headquarters. Maps and displays covered the walls. The Void Armada has established forward bases on these 2 moons, Trell explained, pointing to the displays. Our people tried to defend them, but Wilson nodded. Understanding what Trell couldn't say, the Lumari defenders had been slaughtered. We're going to take those bases back, Wilson said. My team will lead the assault. Trell looked shocked. But the Void forces their number in the thousands. How many of your people are still on those moons? Civilians, perhaps a few hundred, managed to hide. Trell admitted. We lost contact days ago. Wilson's face hardened. Then we go in fast and hit them hard. We get your people out, but your team is only 30 humans. Wilson smiled grimly. 30 humans from a death world. Trust me, Ambassador, that's more than enough. The assault on the larger moon began at what the Lumari called Darkside Hour, the period when the moon was furthest from the sun. Human dropships designed to enter planetary atmospheres at speeds that would tear Lumari ships apart, scream down through the thin atmosphere. Wilson led the first team onto the surface. The moon had only 1/6 of Earth's gravity, making the humans feel almost weightless. But where this would hinder most species, the humans adapted instantly. Their bodies, used to functioning in much heavier conditions, moved with startling speed. Alpha Team secure the northern entrance. Beta, with me to find survivors. Gamma, set up the surprise package for our friends, Wilson ordered through his helmet comm. The Void Armada forces had built their base around a Lumari research facility. They never expected a direct ground assault. Their defenses were focused on stopping ships, not soldiers. The first Void Guards didn't even see the humans coming, trained on a world where predators could hide in plain sight. The human soldiers moved silently through shadows that the Void troops thought were secure. When the fighting started, it was brutal and quick. The Void soldiers were tough by most galactic standards, but they had never faced creatures evolved from ambush predators, with reflexes honed by thousands of generations of survival on a world where everything was trying to kill them. Wilson's team found the surviving Lumari hiding in underground storage areas. The thin, blue-skinned civilians looked at the humans with as much fear as they showed toward their captors. "We're not going to hurt you," Wilson assured them, though he knew his battle armor and weapons made him look terrifying. "We are allies of the Lumari Council. We've come to take you home." One brave Lumari stepped forward. "The guards will return for their inspection soon. They will kill us all if they find you here." Wilson smiled behind his helmet. "The guards won't be coming back now. Come with us if you want to live by the time." The Void Armada realized what was happening. Wilson's team had already evacuated all the Lumari survivors and planted explosive charges throughout the base. From their extraction ships, the humans and rescued Lumari watched as the entire facility erupted in precisely calculated explosions. When they returned to the Lumari homeworld, the rescued civilians told stories that spread quickly through the population. Stories of humans moving with impossible speed, fighting with terrifying efficiency, and showing absolute fearlessness in the face of overwhelming odds. But they also told of humans who were gentle with the rescued, who shared their water and food, who carried injured Lumari with careful hands that could crush bones, but chose instead to heal. In the Grand Council chamber, Wilson delivered his report to Trell and the Elders. "Both moons are clear of enemy forces. We destroyed their bases and equipment. They won't be using those positions again." Elder Mina stared at him. "You lost? No. None of your soldiers died." Wilson shrugged. 3 injured, no deaths. The Void troops weren't prepared for close combat with humans. Next time will be harder. They'll adapt. "How is this possible?" one council member asked. "They outnumbered you so." "Greatly numbers aren't everything," Wilson explained. "Earth taught us that on our world, a single prey animal can be taken down by a lone predator, a fraction of its size. If the predator knows how to hunt, we've been the apex predator on Earth for thousands of years. We know how to hunt." Trell looked at the human commander with new understanding. The Lumari had called for help from a death world, expecting perhaps stronger bodies or more advanced weapons. What they had received was something else entirely. They had received natural warriors, a species whose very biology made them perfect for war, a species that had spent its entire history fighting and adapting, a species that could be gentle with friends and merciless with enemies. For the first time, the Void Armada was about to face a force they could not intimidate or overwhelm. They were about to face humans. 1 month after the arrival of Earth's 7th Fleet, the war had changed dramatically. The Void Armada, once advancing steadily through Lumari space, now fought for every position. What had been an easy conquest had become a brutal struggle against an enemy, unlike any they had faced before. In the command center on the Lumari homeworld, Captain Reed Admiral Foster and Ambassador Trell studied the holographic map showing the current state of the conflict. "We've pushed them back from 3 star systems," Admiral Foster said, pointing to green areas on the map. "But they're still holding strong here and here." He indicated 2 red zones. Trell nodded. "Our people are amazed by what your fleet has accomplished, but the Void Armada still has more ships." "Numbers don't win wars," Foster replied. "Strategy, tactics, and will to fight do." Lieutenant Torres entered the room carrying a data pad. "Admiral, we've intercepted communications from the Void command ship. Their supreme commander is coming personally to oversee the war. They're getting desperate," Reed observed. "Good," a Lumari communications officer rushed in. "Ambassador, we're receiving a transmission from the Void Armada. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. Put it through," Trell ordered. The main screen lit up to show a harsh face. The Void species had gray, leathery skin with ridges along their skull and jaw. Their eyes were small and dark. This particular individual wore elaborate armor and decorations that marked him as a leader. "I am Supreme Commander Dra of the Void Armada," the alien said, his voice translated by the computers. "I speak directly to the creatures who call themselves humans." Admiral Foster stepped forward. This is Admiral Foster of the Earth Defense Fleet. We hear you. Drax's face showed contempt. You have interfered in matters that do not concern you, human. The Lumari are weak. Their resources belong to the strong. This is the way of the universe, not our universe. Foster replied calmly. I offer you one chance. Dra continued. Withdraw your forces. Leave this sector. In return, we will spare your homeworld when we eventually reach it. The room went silent. Then something unexpected happened. Foster laughed. You're threatening Earth. The Admiral shook his head. Supreme Commander, let me explain something about my people. We come from a world that tried to kill us every day. Of our evolution. We survived ice ages, mega-predators, plagues, and our own wars. We clawed our way up from caves to the stars. Foster leaned closer to the screen. And now you threaten to attack our home, the one place in the galaxy where everything, from the smallest microbe to the largest animal, evolved specifically to survive on a death world. He smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Please try. It would save us the trouble of coming to find you. Drax's expression darkened. You have made your choice. Now watch as we demonstrate true power. The screen went dark. What did he mean by that? Trell asked, worried. Before anyone could answer, alarms blared. The tactical display showed a massive void fleet jumping into the system. More ships than they had seen gathered in one place before. 150 vessels, Torres reported. They're headed directly for the Lumari home world. The next day, battle raged in the space around Luma. The Earth fleet had positioned itself between the planet and the incoming Void Armada. Though outnumbered 3-1, the human ships fought with a coordination and ferocity that kept the enemy at bay. On the bridge of the indomitable Admiral Foster directed the battle screen showed human ships performing maneuvers that would tear apart vessels built by most civilizations. The Earth ships took damage but kept fighting long after most species would have surrendered or retreated. Sir, his tactical officer called out, the Void command ship is launching something toward the planet. Not missiles, some kind of drop pods. Foster understood immediately. They're trying to land troops while we're busy with their fleet. Contact Commander Wilson. On the surface of Luma, Wilson and his ground forces watched the sky as hundreds of Void landing craft broke through the atmosphere. The Lumari civilians had been evacuated to underground shelters, but the human soldiers stood ready in the open. They think they can win with numbers, Wilson told his troops. Let's show them how wrong they are. The Void troops that emerged from the landing craft were bigger and more heavily armed than those the humans had faced on the moons. These were elite soldiers, the best the Void Armada had to offer, but they still weren't human. The battle that followed would become legend among both Lumari and Void. Human soldiers moved with impossible speed in Luma's low gravity. They used the environment in ways neither the defenders nor invaders had imagined. Where the Void expected direct confrontation, the humans ambushed. Where the Void established strong points, the humans bypassed them and struck from behind in orbit. The space battle reached its climax when Admiral Foster implemented what would later be called the Earth Gambit. 20 human ships broke formation and accelerated directly toward the Void command ship. It was a move so reckless, so seemingly suicidal, that the Void fleet hesitated, unsure how to respond. That moment of hesitation was all the humans needed. The 20 ships fired, all weapons simultaneously creating a gap in the Void defenses. Through that gap, shot the Thunderbolt carrying Captain Reed and a special operations team. Boarding successful, Reed reported, as his team breached the Void command ship, moving to the Central Control Room, fighting their way through the massive vessel. Reed's team reached their target, Supreme Commander Dra himself. When Reed burst into the command center, Dra stood with his guards looking more annoyed than afraid. You think capturing me will end this war? Drax sneered. The Void Armada does not surrender. Reed approached slowly. We don't want your surrender. We want your understanding. Understanding of what? Of what happens when you threaten a species that evolved, fighting everything, including itself. Reed activated his communicator. Admiral, we're in position, show them. In that moment, space lit up as 50 more Earth ships jumped into the system. The Earth's second fleet just arrived from home. This is just the beginning. Reed told the shocked Void Commander, Earth has 5 more fleets this size, and unlike you, we don't conquer, we protect. 3 days later, Ambassador Trell stood with Captain Reed in the Lumari Grand Council chamber. Through the large windows, they could see the remains of the Void Fleet being escorted from the system by human warships. They've agreed to a treaty, Trell said, still amazed by what the humans had accomplished. No Void, Armada ship will enter Lumari space again. Reed nodded. They finally understood they couldn't win. Not against us. Elder Mina approached them. Your people are leaving most of the fleet. Yes, Reed confirmed. They're needed elsewhere, but the Thunderbolt will stay along with 5 other ships. The beginning of a permanent Earth embassy and protection force, and the cultural exchange we discussed. Trell asked. Reed smiled. Already underway. Earth scientists are eager to learn from your people, and many Lumari have requested to visit Earth. Is that safe? Elder Mina asked. Your world sounds so dangerous. We'll take precautions, Reed assured her, and perhaps in time some of your people might even want to learn how to defend themselves. Trell looked thoughtful. When we sent that distress signal, we never imagined what would come of it. We needed saviors, and we got you. Is that disappointment, I hear? Reed asked. No, Trell said quickly. Amazement. Your people could have conquered us as easily as the Void tried to. Instead, you protected us and asked only for friendship in return. Reed looked out at the stars. Humans are predators, Ambassador. That's true, but we've learned something in our bloody history that the Void never did. What's that? The strongest predators don't need to prove their strength through constant hunting. True strength is shown by protecting those who cannot protect themselves. Trell nodded slowly. Perhaps that is why you evolved on a death world to learn that lesson better than any of us could. As they stood watching the stars, a new chapter began for both civilizations. The peaceful Lumari and the warrior humans, different in almost every way, yet now bound together by something stronger than either technology or military might. Understanding the Lumari had sent a desperate signal into the darkness, not knowing what would answer. They had feared war, but gotten protectors instead. They had called for help from a death world and received not just soldiers but friends, and the galaxy would never be the same again.